Hey, now you remember, because you were there when I was reading, and there's this whole section about whether the day should begin when the sun comes up or when the moon comes up. And remember, I came to you complaining that I had spent like 2 hours reading all this math, and I came to you and I said, Robert, that was the most boringest thing I've ever read, and I'm never going to get those 2 hours of my life back.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Ooh, Tulia, Texas. Oh, my. Oh, boy.
2 hours of my life I'll never get back.
2 hours, you're not getting back yet. No more. Ever. Oh, my God. You're killing me. All right.
Oh, I made you cry on that one, huh?
Oh, boy. Woo!
I might have to leave that in. I'm not going to edit that out.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Got your back too, right?
Yeah.
But when you want to look at some history and you want to look at 1 and 2 Esdras, you want to look at 1 and 2 Maccabees or Maccabees, potato, and you want to see first Maccabees, you want to see it in the perspective of a Sadducee, and the second one, see it in the perspective of a Pharisee, and see what happened when they cleansed the temple. See what happened when Antiochus IV Epiphanes walked all through Jerusalem. I mean, you want to read about these things and find out what happens to help you understand the culture for the New Testament. I highly recommend it. I really do it. The Epistle of Barnabas, not sure. I was looking as you're scrolling. So, but it's just, these are good things. These are good reading material. Just take it with a grain of salt. Just really, seriously, take it with a grain of salt. Oh, another one you have to read, though. Read the Book of Enoch.
Oh, yeah, that's now that you bring that up, what are your
Read the Book of Enoch.
On the Book of Enoch? What are your thoughts on
My thoughts? You know what? I think that some of it could be possible. Some of it may be. Half of it may not be. I like reading it just because there's no affirmation of it anywhere in Scripture, but there's nothing that's just completely heretical to the point where I need to close this book and put it away. But what I got out of it is,
what I will add is it is a little hard to understand, kind of like the Book of Revelation, because it uses a lot of imagery. Like it uses, it's describing a group of people by calling them a herd of cows, and another group of people as a herd of sheep, and stuff like that. Yeah. So it can be a little hard and difficult to understand. If you have trouble understanding Revelation, like a lot of people, probably have trouble understanding. But I will say this for it. I think it gives more credence to all the times that Jesus said, called himself the Son of Man.
I think so as well. But one of the things I would suggest you look for to be able to understand Scripture is to be able to understand everything in context. Okay, and you've heard me preach context. I don't know how many times. I know you have. And who is the author of the Scripture? Who is he teaching? When is he teaching? What is his congregation? But what people say, or what people forget to take into account when they're, trying to take everything into context, we know the author, we know the audience, we know where it is, we know what the culture was at the time, but do we know what these people's suppositions were? Do we know what they had learned and ingrained by being raised in a Jewish or an Israelite type community? Do we know what their presuppositions were, what their understandings were, what anything like that was? To be able to read the Book of Enoch gives you a glimpse into how these people kind of view things. how they view life, how they view simple tasks at hand, how they view family, how they view everything, the presuppositions that were grown up and ingrained to us just by being raised in a certain culture. This gives us a little glimpse because the audience of much of Scripture would have been completely familiar with Enoch, because these are oratory stories that were passed down from generation to generation to generation. The Book of Enoch is quoted in Scripture. So, I mean, these are things to think about. So, when you do read these books, I think it's a good idea to kind of learn how their frame of mind is.
Speaking of that, it was quoted, that would be 14. Let's read that real quick. Brought it up. So that is Enoch, the seventh from Adam, also prophesied about them. Behold, Lord is coming, a maraud with marauds of
myriads.
His Holy One, to execute judgment, everyone, convict all the ungodly of every ungodly act of wickedness, and every harsh word spoken against him by ungodly sinners. So what are your thoughts on this passage right here?
Well, Jude, the book, very short book, right before Revelation, and you know that has prophetic elements into that. And like you said earlier, it's probably, there is a lot of, it's prophecy. It is prophecy, and it's eschatology. It's eschatological in its context, as it were. So, and you mentioned, I don't know if you were already recording or not, but you'd already mentioned that, the Book of Enoch, it seems like it's very revelation-ish as you read it. And it is, because it's hard to understand.
Right, and before we go on real quick, I think it's good time to point out that there is a one Enoch and a second Enoch. So a lot of people don't realize that, and they get it confused. When I read it for the first time, I didn't actually realize that. I thought it was all because I had gotten a book with the Enoch in it, and I read the whole thing, not realizing it was actually two books. So
it was both of them in there. That's how. Yeah.
Can you explain real quick before we go on, the difference between 1 and 2? Do you know?
Not really,
I don't.
Because like you said, the one when I read, it was kind of like Act 1 and Act 2, but it was pretty seamless in between the two, as far as I was concerned. Yeah. But it was in one book.
Hey, now you remember, because you were there when I was reading, and there's this whole section about whether the day should begin when the sun comes up or when the moon comes up. And remember, I came to you complaining that I had spent like 2 hours reading all this math, and I came to you and I said, Robert, that was the most boringest thing I've ever read, and I'm never going to get those 2 hours of my life back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Woo, Tulia, Texas. Oh, my. Oh, boy.
2 hours of my life I'll never get back.
2 hours you're not getting back yet. No more. Ever. Oh, my God. You're killing me. All right.
I made you cry on that one, huh?
Oh, boy. Woo!
I might have to leave that in. I'm not going to edit that out.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Got your back too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so I'm like you. I don't really know the difference between 1 and 2. If 1 was found before 2 or what's going on there. It was something that I had a busy week I think I told you, trying to figure out. I had audio issues. Get rid of this echo or delay. I'm sorry, delay from my mic to my headphones, and then at one point I just lost all audio trying to fix it. Anyways, so I never really got to look into it, but I did mean to look into that before I got into it. So I was kind of hoping you knew, but that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I don't.
But let's real quick go back to this Jude 1:14. Whenever this topic of that comes up, I know I've watched a lot of videos where this kind of like almost like a standard statement for anyone who's gone to seminary to say, oh well, you know, Paul quotes so and so, and this book quotes so and so, and this book references this book, but it doesn't mean that those books are scripture. But the pushback, and something that these scholarly people never seem to address, is the fact that right here it says also prophesied. They never address this. So I was wondering if maybe why we had you here today. What are your thoughts on? Do you go with the scholarly response? And if so, do you have an answer? Also prophesied phrase right here in Jude.
Well,
I hope I'm not putting.
I don't have. No. This is what I love, because I've never gone to seminary school. So yeah, I'm not scholarly, and again, a common sense. Prophesied that was completely an absolute idiot. Somebody else did. You know, just because it says this person prophesied about somebody doesn't mean squat. Caiaphas prophesied about Christ. Better than one man shall die. Remember this? Was Caiaphas a believer? No. Did he love God at all? No. Was he an absolute clown? Yes. Was he in it for the money, power, and status? Yes. He couldn't care less about Christ. He couldn't care less about Yahweh. Couldn't care less about anything about his own self. Yet he prophesied, and what he prophesied did come true. So the word prophesied isn't a magic word. But let me tell you what is magic. That is, because this is in the letter of Jude, and because Jude is scripture, then that means whatever is written in Jude is scripture. So when Jude writes, Enoch, the seventh from Adam, also prophesied about them, behold, the Lord is coming with myriads of his holy ones to execute judgment on everyone and to convict all the ungodly of every ungodly act of wickedness and every harsh word spoken against him by ungodly sinners. That quote right there is scripture. The rest of Enoch doesn't mean it's scripture, but that part right there is scripture. You know why? It's because it's in Jude, and I know that Jude is scripture. So Enoch, the seventh from Adam, he was also in the Old Testament. He was also in the book of Genesis. So he's a real person. He's a real being. So that's my take on it. Got nothing to do with cemetery school. I should quit making fun of that. It's seminary. It's just, you know. So that's my take on it. That's all.
I mean, there are a lot of good people who come out of seminary. I do personally think it's more of a indoctrination center, kind of like public, but there people go for the right reasons.
It is,
and you can learn
lately, yeah.
And you can learn a lot of good stuff. I don't really try. I personally would never do it.
I try not to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But okay. Well, then let's go on to now that we've covered that, and I like that answer. The high priest, when scripture says that he prophesied, doesn't mean that everything. Right. You're correct. I like that answer. That was a very good answer. But let's go on to this. This last